Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I have with me in the studio today a media executive, a household name in Nigeria. She is Mrs. Eugenia Abu. You're welcome.
Thank you, Father. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you. Eugenia Abu worked for 35 years in NTA, rose to the level of Executive Director News.
Programs.
Executive Director Programs. And even before retiring from NTA, she had been involved in mentoring young people, in coaching, in leadership issues. And now she has the Eugenia Abu media outfit, and which is called Team, the Eugenia Abu Media. And she's using that platform to do a lot of things for our country and beyond, mentoring young people, holding leadership, coaching enterprises, programs. There's a program coming very soon, right?
Yes, for children.
For children of between 7 and 14.
Yes.
Great. All kinds of programs that her outfit continues to organize. And we have collaborated in a number of programs. She is part of our anti-corruption campaign and the trainings we do with pastors and imams for to help them use their resources to promote integrity and fight corruption. We have also worked together on the topic of parenting, which is what we want to discuss today. We went to one school, secondary school, to discuss parenting with the parents. We also, at the Chapel of Luxterra, discussed with all the members the challenge of parenting today. Eugenia, you and I have been at these various fora discussing the challenge of parenting today. How would you summarize what the real issues are? We are face to face with a generation, confronted with a generation where the kind of parenting we had, many of us had, they never had it, or many young people lacked parenting, which is why we said to teachers in secondary school that your task is that of reparenting in large measure. And then the world is changing so fast that parents have to learn and unlearn and relearn to be able to raise their children in the digital age. Many children are operating at a level that their parents are not, especially with regards to the media, with regards to social media. How would you summarize the challenge that confronts us with regard to parenting? How would you say it in a few words?
Thank you, Father. I think, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you for the work that you do across board, the lectures that are given in the Luxterra Church, and the various interventions you yourself have been involved in.
Thank you.
Truly, parenting in today's world is attacked by different things. Attacked by the fact that modern technology has gone ahead of us, and our children are the ones who know it better than us, and a lot of parents are not digital, which therefore means that what is going on your child's phone is unknown to you if you don't make an effort. You have to be your child's friend, and a lot of parents think it is authority figure that would help parenting this time. Authority figure will drive them away. So the challenge is, like you rightly observed, we have to relearn, we have to unlearn what we know, and we have to start all over again. I think the challenge is basically that a lot of parents have shifted from what is going on in the modern times to insist that they will parent their children the way they were parented. That's the greatest challenge. So we need to move away from that and understand that, like you observed rightly, we have to unlearn what we know. Our children are in a digital world, which is a virtual world. We have to be vigilant. We have to pay more attention. The challenge is lack of attention, absentee parenting, modern technology.
Now, if we want to, people of our generation want to parent their children the way they were parented, often the parents were available, were around.
Yes.
But today, these parents that want to use the old method are not even around.
They're not present.
They're not present. And so part of the challenge that young people have today is the absenteeism of their parents.
Absolutely. And because of that, they are now picking up new parents. They are deciding that their peers who know a little more than them are their parents. They are deciding that their teachers are their parents. A lot of parents have left parenting to their housemates, to their security guards, and to their drivers.
You see, from that point of view, this what you mentioned about housemaids.
Yes.
For many years, I have been campaigning for a serious program of training for nannies.
Yes.
Because nannies are the de facto parents of young children.
Absolutely.
I mean, a woman delivers a baby and after 2-3 months she has resumed work and leaves that tender little baby to some child that was brought from the village with absolutely no training, no exposure, nothing.
None.
And then this woman comes back from work and is scolding this little girl of 12 or 13 who has been the parent of her child.
Yes.
And the child is confused.
Yes.
Because the child knows this authority figure as an authority figure and knows this available girl.
Yes.
Whom she relates to like her parent.
The fallout from that, Father, a side fallout, aside from the things you've mentioned, is that a lot of those maids are sometimes abused by the mother of the child. And the cycle of abuse now takes off by the maid taking it out
on the child. I mean, we saw a number of such on the internet.
So there are many broken children as a result of that. Maybe out of 10 maids, there will be maybe 4 who are passionate about the children. The remaining 6 are either revenging what the mother has done to them, or believes that these people are too rich, they don't know what they are doing, and blames her own poverty on them. And the child is the one that takes the heat.
That takes all the consequences.
Yes.
So absentee parents.
Yes.
And then when the children grow further, they are now exposed as early as 5, 6, 7 to telephones.
Yes.
And some parents, to show sophistication, they give to 6, 7-year-old children iPhones.
Yes.
The kind of iPhones that Bill Gates will not give his own child.
Yes, because they are all guarded. The people who created these instruments pretty much used a lot of psychiatrists to ensure that it's highly addictive. And if you're not keeping watch, your children will live inside a virtual world which is not realistic. And if a child is living in a world that is not realistic, the day he comes down to earth, he will not deal with it. So, Bill Gates will not give his children because he knows the effect.
Yes.
And parents are not taking as much education as they should about social media, internet usage, and phone usage. That is why it's easy for someone who thinks he's wealthy to give his children phones that are of very high level. There's a certain age where you can introduce children to apps. There's a certain age where you should not. Before they are 11, you should really leave them with what the Western world today is describing as the dumb phone, where you can make a phone call,
yes,
you can answer a phone call. That's what children need before 10.
You know that there are countries in Europe today where Wi-Fi is not allowed in the schools. Yes, Wi-Fi is not allowed because of the potential risk of Wi-Fi.
Absolutely.
Now, we think it is sophistication and that we have arrived by making sure that our nursery school are all wired up.
No.
And then we expose them to iPhones because we want them to be in touch. In fact, I'm told that there are nursery schools here in Abuja where the children sometimes they don't have to come to school. They can answer their questions and do their exams online. I mean, nursery school.
Technology education is good, but it has to be managed. And when it is not managed, the phone has many avenues, many rooms in it. And the room you want the child to go, because they are curious, they are adventurous, and they're smarter than we are these days, they will go to those rooms. Rooms of pornography, rooms of how to kill yourself, rooms of how to mix poison, rooms of how to use a gun. A young man, 20-something in the United States, I think last week or so, committed suicide by crashing a plane that he stole from the hangar. Yes. And he said he learned how to fly on the internet.
On the internet. And went and stole a plane.
Stole a plane. He had depression issues and he crashed a plane and killed himself. There is nothing you can't learn on this thing.
Yes.
And if it is not properly guided and guarded, your child will fall into the wrong hands on the phone. People join ISIS and join insurgency groups from the phone.
Yes.
So parents must be guarded. You must have more than just your 2 eyes. You must pay attention. You must be present, which is basically the thread of what we are saying.
Dealing with, along with others, issues of mental health.
Yes.
You see, in recent times, there is perhaps a growing awareness that many people are not well.
Yes.
And from among these people who are not well, people are going into marriage.
Yes.
I keep saying that whereas it is desirable for everyone to get married, well, not everyone is equipped emotionally and psychologically and spiritually
Correct.
to get married.
Yes.
But we have a society that is still operating as before, meaning once a woman gets to 20, 25, she has to find a husband. Once a man is getting to 25, 26, he has to find a wife. And such pressure is put on young people that they go and find a wife, they go and find a husband, even when sometimes they know that they are not equipped. Isn't this a serious problem? Because when people who are not psychologically balanced, emotionally balanced, when they go into marriage, and maybe I know mental health is a continuum.
Yes.
But when people who are seriously challenged when it comes to, or compromised when it comes to mental health, when they go into marriage, look at the result. They bring out children. From the very first day, the children are abused in many ways, emotionally, psychologically.
Yeah.
And then we end up having a society that is compromised in many ways.
I agree, Father. Mental health issues are, as they say when we were growing, everybody has their 5 minutes of madness. But society has put a lot of pressure, particularly on young men, who are expected to be able to build a house when they can't afford it, who are expected to be able to marry a wife in a glorious ceremony when they can't afford it. So they go into debt even before they get married. And those things can lead to mental health that, are occasioned by stress, are occasioned by trying to be like the Joneses, are occasioned by societal pressures. And those things do not augur well in a union. A union where perhaps the girl has very high expectations, the man is not meeting those expectations, or both of them have to go to work and then they have children. Postpartum depression is one of the highest. Is becoming one of the highest. It's in the highest form around the world now, because many women are working in such high pressured areas that when they will now have babies,
they cannot.
They can crack.
They cannot cope.
They can crack. I am a mother of children myself, and I know what it means when you have. And I had my children quite young. When you have children, you've had a baby, and the baby is crying continuously. You don't know what is wrong with the baby. You have fed, you have changed diapers, you have done everything you need to do, and the baby is still crying. You're after 1 month of hearing this baby cry, people who don't have it together, who cannot manage pressure, they tend to want to throw the baby away. People have been known to drown their children or to just throw them through the window because of that pressure. And the greatest challenge, Father, is that the young man who is married to this young lady has no clue why she's snappy, she's short-fused. So, like you rightly observed, we're going into marriages without being prepared. Mentally, we're not prepared. Emotionally, the society says, get married now. You find a girl, you get married, you begin to have children who you are never there for, or who you don't know what to do with. And we ask ourselves why our society is where we are. There are people who have no emotions. They would steal, and it doesn't mean anything. To them. And those kinds of people, in growing up, they didn't have anybody to say to them, you can't steal, because the parents were absent or were not emotionally equipped. So you have nailed it by saying people are going into marriages physically, emotionally, spiritually, they're not equipped. And I'm glad, I've heard people say, well, the Catholic Church can do better. But I'm glad that the Catholic Church provides that avenue for you to go and go through some sort of school. At least 3 months before you get married. Today, like everything in Nigeria, people are cutting corners. They don't want to do it. I went through it. And the priest told me, go and check. If there's something about your husband you don't like physically or otherwise, come back and tell us you are not. Don't come back here and tell us you are not marrying him. After 6 months, you say he has a hunchback. We're not going to listen to you. But young people don't understand what it means. A lot of marriages have been dissolved in those premarital things that are organized by the Catholic Church, because it is there that you are asked a certain question. How would you cope if he's sick and a girl is hesitating? Yes. How would you cope if you found your wife in a compromising position and the boy is hesitating? Then they say to you, this is for life. In this church, we don't ask you to leave each other. So young people are not well equipped Their parents themselves have not equipped them. That takes us back to parenting.
Yes.
What are you telling your son about finding a good girl? What are you saying to him about his short temper? What are you saying to your daughter about walking around the town of Abuja? Have you told her that you are doing walkabout now? When you get married, your husband will not let you walk about. So a girl gets married because she has not been told, and she then begins to walk around. And the young man says, you can't do this. And she says, who told you? My father did not tell me I can't do it. You can't tell me. So there's lack of communication. There's lack of patience. All the things that go as ingredients into a good marriage is not there. So really, Father, by saying people are not equipped, you are right. How do we equip them? How do parents prepare their children? You prepare them from when they are small. Decent dressing. As a man, don't say, well, I'm the man. If your wife is pregnant and cannot do anything, you say you can't wash plates. It is from when they are small that they are prepared.
Yes.
He learns that it's a team.
Yes.
It's a unit. The family is not you and me, it's us.
Yes.
And until they know that, they are not emotionally equipped.
This whole thing about, that takes us to the issue of instant gratification. Me, myself, and I.
Yes.
How can people sustain in any serious marital union when they have no sense of sacrifice? Because quite dominant in today's society is the lack of a sense of sacrifice, lack of a sense of deferred gratification. People want to have it and have it now, have all their pleasures now, but no sacrifice. So they expect so much sacrifice from the other, but they are not prepared to make any sacrifice. When we have a dominant orientation in society like that, how can we have any good marriages? So we now raise children that are brought up on internet or by the internet. So it means that from preparing for marriage, and if people are well prepared for marriage, I mean, I have had instances whereby halfway through the preparation for marriage, one or two couples come and say, we have listened to this program so well, we are deciding that we cannot continue, we cannot marry, because from all we have learned, we are not for each other.
Wow.
And I say that's a successful premarital course.
It is.
Recently I had one. Very recently I had one. Came to me and said, Father, with what we have been learning in the last 3-4 months, I don't think we can continue. Now, it is not that the premarital course was meant to separate people who are coming together, which is why I have often recommended in our church that, look, don't leave the premarital course to after traditional wedding.
It has to be
let
before.
the premarital course before any young person after graduating from school, let them do the premarital course.
Anyway, they should do it anyway.
Let them do the premarital course anywhere, so that if they then come by, the premarital course is supposed to help them in locating who their partner should be.
Correct.
But you see, they have already done traditional wedding. They have already fixed a date for the church wedding, and they are just coming for some validation. And then that is when they start negotiating. You say it's 3 months. They say, oh no, I mean, we have already fixed the date.
It's cosmetic.
Yes.
They want to make it cosmetic. Like all things in today's world amongst young people, they want to fast track it. You can't fast track God.
No.
You can't fast track who you are going to live with for the rest of your life.
Certain things take time.
They do. Yes. Experience takes time.
Yes.
So deferred gratification that you've just described, young people do not understand that what they are hearing from their parents is experience.
Yes.
When people say you stand on the shoulders of the older person to see what you cannot see when you are standing on the ground, it's parenting.
Yes.
Parenting, mentoring, and those things have to come together. I mentor a number of young people, and I'm virtually like their parents. What I understand is that there are gaps from where they are coming from, which I then need to close.
You told us, talking about mentoring young people, you told us a story of some, is it 14-year-old at your gathering of parents and young people who said she desperately wanted to speak to the mother.
Yes.
And the mother said, go and put it in writing.
Yes, and put it on the dining table.
And put it on the dining table.
Yes, I will look at it.
And she waited for how long?
3 months.
3 months.
Because
never got the mother's attention.
Yes, she didn't get her mother's attention. And when she got frustrated, the mother said, go and write down what you want to see me for. I'm busy. And leave it on the dining table. Now, those are the gaps I'm talking about. As a parent, if you are not available, the drug dealer is available. Because this child now tells himself that he has no one.
Yes.
And when he says he has no one, the drug dealer is very happy to adopt him.
Yes.
And once the drug dealer adopts your child, you've lost that child.
You have lost that child.
Clearly. You started losing the child by saying to the child, go and write it and put on the dining table, by not being available, by not being present.
Can you imagine a 14-year female child wants to talk to the mother? And at that age, there are sensitive issues.
Many.
Wants to talk to the mother 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and then you say, go and put it in writing.
What is that job? What is that job that will prevent you from keeping your family together? How important is that job? I've met many people, some of them in the Luxterra church the last time we spoke about parenting. And the lady said to me, listening to you, madam, I'm glad that I took the decision I took. By the time she had done her work in the civil service for 6 years, she made up her mind that she could not continue. So she started a business in her house so that she can keep an eye on her children. And she says to me, the reward is what I see from my children now. We don't all have to work. If we can't work and you can't balance your family and your work, you have to give up one. Most people give up their children.
Yes, rather than the work.
Yes, this is what we're seeing today. We went to give a lecture somewhere, and after we finished, we went on a panel. And a young lady put up her hand and said she would like to ask a question because they brought some schools. She said, how do I deal with internal funk? I'd never heard it in my life.
Internal funk.
Yes. So we all said, what is internal funk? And the lady who was asked to respond to her calmly said, well, we all have internal funk. I think she was being smart in order to try to see whether she can get the girl. We all have it. Sometimes we're confused. For a moment, I didn't know what that meant until this lady began to break it down. And when I asked her, she said, even I had never heard about it. So parents have to have a skill of being ahead, of being able to break down some of the things their children are saying, of learning quickly, of answering quickly and dealing quickly. And this lady did an excellent job. She said, we all have internal funk. Some days we don't know who we are. We don't know our purpose in life. We're confused. That is what internal funk is. And so we invited her to an event organized by this lady, which involved all women, reading from the Bible, small chops, drinks, talking about what is bothering you, and she was a superstar. 14.
To tell us about internal funk.
Yes, she came with her mom. And her mom said to us after she had gone, she's always alone in the room. Kids are at that age of 14, like you rightly observed, are confused about who they are.
Yeah.
And if you are not there to tell them who they are, they will adopt somebody else. The teacher, as you rightly observed before we started this discussion, the teacher becomes the parent.
Yes, and unfortunately, many teachers are not equipped to do that reparenting task. I mean, I was speaking to teachers in a high school, and I told them that because there is widespread failure in homes, failure of parenting in homes, I told them, you have a task of reparenting. So you must bring up yourself, and that the school authorities must train these teachers. Anyone who is teaching, for example, in a female secondary school, I told them, and no matter how young you are a father. Consider yourself a mother, a father of these children.
Yeah. A father must also learn certain things about his daughters.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of parents who are fathers always say, oh, PTA, I went to an event for Father's Day, and one man said PTA is for women. I don't go to PTA because it's a woman's thing. And I'm thinking, excuse me, I beg your pardon.
That is the level of ignorance in society that we really need to deal with.
Yeah.
Eugenia, I think we will need to have another session to discuss this parenting because the topic is huge.
And wide.
Perhaps you have a last word to give our parents about the task and the challenge of parenting and how they should work hard to meet that challenge.
I think it's important to create time. Create time. I think it's important to be aware of the modern trends that your children are getting involved in. Get educated. I think it's important to be your children's friends. I think you should necessarily always be so attentive that you know when a child is sliding out of how they used to be. Because when a child suddenly begins to behave differently, something is going on.
But you needed to have known your child before you know he
has changed. Yes.
On that note, we would bring this program to an end. I've been speaking with Eugenia Abu, media consultant, very well known face in the Nigerian media, NTA fame. Eugenia, it's wonderful to have you in our studio.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you, Father. Thank you very much.
Thank you.